Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order and have a resolution to adopt the agenda. There's only one item on it. Council Nancy Wood Roberts and Deputy Mayor McKechnie, all in favor? Carried. Yeah, we have a resolution there. I'm sorry. I guess we better read it.
Be resolved that the agenda for the special meeting of the Council of the Municipality of Dysart et al. Held on February 10th be approved as presented.
Now, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Being none, so we'll move into the budget presentation and budget review. You had it at the last meeting, and Barbara, do you have any comments? It's as was presented, is it not?
Yeah, and I do have a little bit of a slideshow to go over a few items since our budget meeting in January. So without further ado, I'll start the presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so you should see the welcome page here for the budget. So welcome to the third draft of the 2023 budget. Today's presentation is going to be relatively short, just to touch on some of the changes since the last budget. And these changes have had a net impact of 0 on the municipal levy. We'll do a little bit of a review, top level review of 2022. We're still working through to finalize those numbers, and then we'll go through just some of the areas where there were key changes, notably under the capital for the 2023 budget. So looking at 2022, it's still, there's still quite a bit of work that needs to be done. However, we are anticipating that there will be a minimal deficit. We've since learned that the surplus under roads maintenance, we're looking at about $283,000, will help to mitigate some of the cost overrun in our landfill. Right now, the net deficit for the landfill is looking at about $338,000. So the surplus under roads is primarily with the snow plowing. There's about $135,000 in a deficit, or sorry, surplus there. Washouts is a surplus of $140,000. And there's some patching and ditching where we have a $78,000 surplus. So again, under landfill contract services, we've heard about the cost overrun for our construction and demolition, essentially increased volumes, increased hauler costs have contributed to the large overrun. So any deficit or surplus will be drawn or added to the working fund balance. At the end of 2021, our current working fund balance is just over $1.7 million.
And Pat, John is going to come in at the end of the meeting and explain to us what the differences are.
Okay. So just to recap on the municipal taxation, we are presenting a 2.34 levy increase on $100,000. If you have a residential property, that means you'll be paying $7.22 more. If you own a commercial property, it's $10.71 per 100,000, and industrial is $12.41 per 100,000. So the total municipal levy, a 1% increase, is approximately $107,000. And we did see just under a 1% growth in 2022. And at this point, we Haven't heard on the final rates for the county. I know they're under deliberations there, and education rates have not changed from 2022. Also, talking about taxation, the business improvement area had their AGM last night, and they're proposing their levy to increase by 10%, and they're looking at a levy of $49,500. So here we see, obviously, levies are increasing. The total levy for 2023 is just over $11 million. And I will note that this year we also budgeted for some additional assessment throughout the year in the amount of $50,000. So here we see our sources of funding broken up in between three main categories. And the first one is property taxation. And then we have federal and provincial grants. And then we have other non-taxation revenue. Under the property taxes, that there makes up 51.5% of our total expenditures. The total expenditures for 2023 is just over $21.5 million. For grants, that represents 16.3% or $3.5 million. And other non-tax revenue is just over 6.9 million, and that represents 32.3% or 32.2%. And so non-tax revenue is made up of user fees, transfers from reserves, and any debt. So we'll just briefly talk about reserves here. Obviously, there's been quite a bit of activity for 2023. The reserves that we're looking at here is essentially our development reserve, our parking meter reserve, our parking in lieu, and our parkland reserve. The primary reserve here is the development reserve, and that's for our buildings and facilities, fire and vehicle equipment, road capital projects, waste management capital projects, and stormwater capital projects. So throughout 2023, we're going to see a draw on the reserves of about $1.8 million net. And that essentially is reflective of the increased capital budget in 2023 of just under $2 million.
Barb, we might say that the equipment rentals, I think Rob said they're going to be adjusted, so there will be more coming into reserves, or should be.
Yes, that is correct. 2023 staff have reviewed the rental rates for the equipment, and that will help to mitigate some of the cost pressures that we're facing right now. Essentially, just even replace the tandem truck. The cost has increased exponentially, and also the operating costs of the vehicle.
Okay, everybody ready? Okay to move on?
Yep. So this here is just reiterating in 2022, we're looking to finish out our reserves at 5.6 million, and it's seeing a net increase of 1.6 in 2022. However, we're going to see a draw of just under 1.8 million in 2023 and finish out at $3,082,000.
And that's, of course, depending whether we put more into reserves from other areas. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah, so it looks bad, but it's not really that bad.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, there is a $568,000 contribution to the reserve in 2023. And we've kind of contained that for 2023, recognizing additional costs and so forth, and trying to present a reasonable tax increase in these tough economic times.
The money we loaned ourselves, where does it fit into that number?
So that number there, it would not reflect in the reserve balances.
So that's
that
$1.5 million right there.
That's right, but that would be a balance sheet item. And so what happens is throughout the course of the year, the loan repayments would be brought back into the reserve.
So it looks worse than it really is by $1.5 million.
Yeah, so what will happen is from the cash side, there will be approximately a $300,000 repayment in 2023 on the 1.6 that we borrowed from ourselves. So the balance will come down relatively quick. It is a 5-year loan, and it will be paid out at the end of the 5 years.
Okay, everybody follow that? Okay, Nancy?
So Barbara, when the auditors come and they look at our reserve balances versus our debt, does this have any impact on that percentage or that ratio that they like to see?
Well, it's my understanding that when you borrow from yourself, that is not included in the annual repayment limit for debt. So essentially, it's just opened up more opportunity if we wanted to take on more debt in the future. Obviously, interest rates are not attractive at the moment, but there is some leverage for future projects.
Okay.
So moving on to capital expenditures, as a result of the last council meeting, we've moved forward with a bridge project on Koshlong. So there's an additional $250,000 brought into the third draft budget, which is being funded through the Capital Roads Reserve. And so initially we had $100,000 in the budget for some engineering and preservation for Koshlong. And so with the addition of the lesser bridge, which is roughly about $200,000, and the increased cost for the full engineering study, there's an additional $250,000 brought in on top of the $100,000, which now means that our bridge projects is $350,000. And so our capital projects have increased by the $250,000, and total capital projects for 2023 is just over $2.4 million. So this here is a summary of how we're funding our capital projects. And you'll see here that the draw from municipal reserves has increased by the $250,000. So now we're drawing $2.7 million to fund capital projects. And you'll note here, this is the $1.7 million increase in capital projects from 2022. So we'll just touch on expenditures by department. And so there's three departments here we'll talk about. The first one being recreation. You'll notice here this green bar is certainly advancing over last year. And the main trigger there is the capital projects for our playground equipment. We currently have 2 projects on the go, and one is for $350,000 and another one is for $150,000 through the grant. So that represents roughly $500,000. Looking to transportation, again, that's reflective of the capital projects that have increased in 2023. We're looking at vehicles, infrastructure for our roads and bridges, and our sidewalks. So that represents the large expenditure in transportation. And then we're also looking at environment. And under environment, we have capping at our Halliburton landfill for about $300,000. And that's being funded from our working funds. So overall, just a little bit of a picture on where our expenditures are. And you can see that transportation takes the lead at 36%. Then we have environment at 21%, and then protection at 17%. So on that note, that ends the presentation, and I'll be glad to take any questions.
I guess you can't tell me, but how much of the things we're taking out of reserves were something that was put in reserves because the work wasn't done last year? Like I know sidewalks didn't get done last year. Several things didn't. Do you have a ballpark on that? Because that does affect the reserve totals.
Yes, so there you are correct. There were some projects that did not happen, and they were included in the 2022 budget, and sidewalks was one of the projects. However, because the project didn't transpire, the money was not drawn from reserves, so it would just sit in that pool until the work is done.
Yeah.
And so there was no transfer to the reserve in 2022.
It just sat there. Okay.
That's correct.
Okay. Just a little different way we do it in the county, that's all. I just need to clarify that. Okay, any questions, Pat?
Yes, Bob, I don't know, just need some clarity for me. I'm going to rewind you to the very start here. It says landfill net deficit is at 338,000. And below that, contract services for construction demolition waste deficit of 400. Can you split that out and explain to me what that is?
So the net deficit is for the entire landfills. So we have 5 landfills, and there were some expenses that came in under budget that would mitigate some of that huge overcost run on the C&D waste.
Okay. And what's the 400? Is that what you just explained?
Yeah, that there is the cost overrun on the construction and demolition for the haulage fee increase, along with the usage.
So somehow then we come up with 60 grand elsewhere from less expenditures or profit somehow, right? Roughly.
Right. And it is commingled. It can be a result of, contract services. As an example, we do have an organization that monitors our landfills, and that cost came in under budget. There were some areas such as wages where it came in under budget. It could be computer equipment. I don't have an extensive list, but just to kind of give you the idea that there were some line items that did come in under budget that helped to mitigate the cost overrun.
Barbara, do you see the costs at the Halliburton landfill site when our municipal equipment is loading or it's out there drawing sand or whatever? How does that get recorded?
Sorry, your question was a little muffled there.
Okay.
If you could repeat the question, please.
Yeah, when we're doing municipal work at the Halliburton landfill relating to C&D particularly, how is that documented?
The actual expense?
The actual expense.
Yeah, and that there is a direct cost from the vendor invoices, and they are pretty extensive. And I do know that John does he analyzes those invoices extensively. So he does keep some statistics on that.
I think you're missing something. I'm actually looking for what we charge, which roads workers out there with loading the C&D. And we're there for 3 hours. How is that documented?
Oh, as far as our staff or contract staff?
Well, your staff.
Our staff, yeah, that's recorded under wages and benefits. They're municipal employees.
It's billed to the landfill, but it's not billed to C&D.
So the C&D, any contractor services falls under the expense line item contract services. So it is broken out from, if there are any services that our municipal employees provide, that gets allocated to the respective landfill.
Yeah. So if we take a couple of loads of sand out there, that gets charged to C&D then?
That will get charged to the landfill wages.
Yeah, see, we're not getting the complete picture here, but anyway, okay, I'll drop it there. Okay. Any other questions there? Well, thank you, Barbara. I think that's pretty concise and have we got any other questions till we get out of closed here? Not now? Yeah, a little bit later, yeah. How about you, Tammy? You good?
Yeah, as long as Buxton Road is still on the roads department. Okay,
Buxton Road is on the list of roads for construction rehabilitation. Yeah.
great, thanks.
You're a big winner this year, Tammy. There's been years you haven't been, right?
That Buxton Road's been on there for quite a while. It keeps getting pushed off.
Is that the one right in Harcourt, you mean?
No,
No,
just
that's-
before you get into Harcourt,
Yeah,
that gets shared with Highlands East.
yeah, right. Okay, well, that's for resurfacing, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so are we good? Resolution then?
Be it resolved, the council acknowledges receipt, of the third draft of the municipality of Dysart 2023 budget, and further direct staff to bring forward the bylaw to adopt the 2023 budget to the February 28th, 2023 meeting of regular council based on council direction.
Okay. Heard the resolution, mover and seconder. Walt and Carm, all in favor? Carry. Thank you. So we do the confirming bylaw now?
There's the revenue and expense.
Revenue and expense, yeah, I thought we did that. Okay. Barbara, do you have something else? Revenue and expense?
Yeah, those are just supporting documents for the third draft
That's what I thought,
budget.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think we saw those before.
Hey, you ready for the confirmed
We
bylaw?
are.
Be it resolved that bylaw number 2023-24, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the special council meeting held on February 10th, be read a first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and the corporate seal attached here too.
Mover and seconder. Nancy and Barry, all in favor? Carry.
You want adjournment?
Yeah.
Be it resolved that council adjourn its special meeting held on February 10th at 9:20 a.m.
Mover and seconder, Walt and Carm, all in favor? Okay. Thanks, Tammy. We'll see you on Tuesday. Are you still down there for a while?
Oh, yes. I will see you on Tuesday on the same place.
Good. Good for you. Thank you. So now we're going to